On Tech News Today, Facebook's WhatsApp starts blocking links to a competitor. Is the UK government really warning consumers about Wi-Fi interference from fairy lights? And we've got new details on Nokia's awesome new immersive video camera. It's all coming up next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Tuesday, December 1st, 2015. This episode is brought to you by Gazelle, the online marketplace for buying and selling used gadgets. Shop from a variety of certified pre-owned electronics or trade one in for cash. Give a new life to a used device. Visit Gazelle.com today. And by Wealthfront. Wealthfront is a low-cost automated investment service that's the most sophisticated way for you to invest your money. Whether you've got millions or you're just starting out, visit wealthfront.com/TNT to sign up and get your free personalized investment portfolio. That's wealthfront.com/TNT. Tech News Today is the show where we talk about the tech news of the journalists who report it. My name is Mike Elgin, and our co-anchor today is none other than CNET News Executive Editor Ian Scher. Ian, welcome to Tech News Today.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing great. So glad to get you on as a co-anchor. I've been trying to do this for a long time. You're a very busy guy. Very difficult executive editing CNET News, and it's just great to have you on. And you know, I love having you on as a guest, and I'm so happy to have you on as a co-anchor today.
No, it's really fun. I always enjoy what you guys talk about and the way that you kind of apply talking to journalists and trying to really understand what's behind the news, which not too many people do. So it's really fun.
Yeah, and we certainly enjoy it over here. Well, why don't we jump into said news? Facebook's WhatsApp yesterday started blocking links to the competing messaging service Telegram. Dun, dun, dun. Russell Brandom is a reporter for The Verge and joins us to talk about it. Hey, Russell, how you doing today?
Good. Great to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. Now, WhatsApp is treating links to Telegram like spam, essentially turning the URL into a dead link that can't be tapped to open, and also preventing links from being copied and therefore pasted. Is there any justifiable reason why Telegram links might be treated as spam?
I don't think so. And I think the way that they're doing it is also very sloppy and not really well. So the, people have looked into the code that's doing this, and it's just searching for anything with Telegram in the URL. So you see here, telegram.me is the URL for the service Telegram, but there's also telegram.org. Telegram.com is actually a newspaper in Massachusetts, the Worcester Telegram Gazette. And they're also being blocked. So if you send someone a link to a news story from that newspaper, they just are cut off from any traffic from WhatsApp, which I think is really puzzling and a very strange thing for them to do. I mean, it's also, so the other thing is that, and we don't know exactly the timing on this, but Telegram's Facebook page has also been taken down. Which I think is just really alarming. I think, Facebook is anyone working in media knows Facebook is a huge driver of traffic. It's a big gateway for how people experience the internet at this point. Facebook, I've been emailing them for comment, I think 4 times since yesterday. And they have been very, very quiet on this. WhatsApp has been very, very quiet on this. So far, it's only in the Android version. I think because of the update that was deployed hasn't reached iOS yet, but it's pretty spooky, honestly.
So, Russell, this is something, of course, that's been happening in the past. Of course, they have a history of this sort of thing. Facebook, I'm talking about. Is this related to what Facebook has done in the past, or do you think this is a kind of isolated instance?
Well, I mean, we've seen. So most recently, there was a sort of another social network, tsur.co, that Wired did some reporting on that was in some ways sort of scammy. It was saying, well, we're going to return advertising revenue to you. So if you link to a thing through our network and it gets a lot of traffic, you'll see some monetary reward for that. And Facebook said, this sounds like a Ponzi scheme, which it kind of does. And then they not only blocked links to that site, but links to any coverage of the site. And actually, there was a Tech News Today podcast about it that sort of fell into this. And it's a little, in that case, you say, okay, maybe they were overreacting, but we sort of see the core thing is they want to protect users from scams. And so that's, they had this pre-existing policy that this is in violation of. The thing with Telegram is I don't see what the pre-existing policy would be. I mean, Telegram, I think lots of people use it for lots of different things. There have been some recent coverage of, ISIS is congregating on Telegram, but it's certainly not the bulk of how people are using Telegram. Generally, it's just a messaging service that has some private functions and uses encryption, and it's just a place for people to talk. So that's why I think, and also we haven't heard anything from Facebook in terms of, okay, this is the policy that is why this would be blocked. It's just very puzzling, and I keep sort of wondering if, in the past when we've seen blocks like this from Facebook, they've been very quick to retract it, and sort of in the next couple days they would say, oh, we were sorry, this was a code that got deployed. We were sort of moving fast and breaking things, but obviously this isn't in line with our policies. And so I think, Telegram has said, in a statement to us that that's kind of what they expect to happen here. And if that doesn't happen, then I think it starts to be a little bit alarming. I also wonder if this was something that was deployed on the WhatsApp side, maybe sort of independent of Telegram's Facebook page. If WhatsApp just decided, we're tired of losing users to Telegram, and sort of deployed it without thinking of maybe, is this in line with larger Facebook policy? And now, behind the scenes, there's some conflict between them because we know the two teams operate, more or less independently. And so that there's a little bit of sort of Facebook Kremlinology that I think is interesting to wonder about. But at the moment, it's sort of wait and see. Like, what are they actually going to stand behind this?
Well, and going down the Kremlinology hole, I'm curious, is there any possibility that there's a logical reason for this? Like, I remember reading that Telegram was popular among terrorists, and that was something that came out during all of the Paris stuff. And so, not to say obviously everyone who's using Telegram is a terrorist, but is there a possibility that they're reacting or even overreacting to something like that?
Yeah, I guess it's possible, but I also think, that's I could imagine someone seeing that and thinking, oh, well, okay, this is terrible. I think genuinely it's worth just stating that it is true that they've found ISIS accounts sort of on Telegram, and those conversations have been happening there. That's a very, very small portion of the people using Telegram at a given time. So you're really using, you're sort of going after the fly that's in your house with a machine gun and shooting up your whole house, right? I think a huge overreaction. And then also, from a policy perspective, if you block every link to a service that might be hosting, that terrorists might be going to, you just sort of cut off. It makes no sense as a policy, right? You're just cutting off these huge services, and not really, terrorists will just find some other way to talk, as we've seen over and over, right? And I also don't think this isn't something that I can't imagine an intelligence service saying to WhatsApp, well, we're seeing a lot of terrorists talking on Telegram. It's really bad. Why don't you stop providing outbound links to that? That seems sort of like it wouldn't really do anything to fight terrorism. So that's really puzzling too. And then the other thing, the other sort of elephant in the room is that WhatsApp is a Telegram competitor, right? But it's also much larger than Telegram. So it's not, you might expect if Google and Facebook are fighting, and a lot of more people are using Facebook than are using Google Plus, and then suddenly Facebook links start redirecting to Google Plus, and you're thinking, oh, okay, Google's using their power to prop up this product. But lots of people are using WhatsApp. So it's not that they need some help in the fight with Telegram. They're doing quite well in the messaging business, right? They're really sort of walking away with it. So it seems weird that it seems like overkill that they would block these links to sort of go after a competitor that is not, a significant competitor, but they're doing just fine. They could continue to have, I think the damage from, WhatsApp is being creepy, blocking outbound links for no good reason is going to be a much bigger threat to them than just the ongoing success of Telegram ever would be. So that it's sort of puzzling.
Yeah, before we let you go, I just wanted to ask what Telegram's response to all this has been.
So they have been very open. I think they're basically waiting to see what's happening. They don't know any more than we do about why this is happening. They're kind of keeping a close eye on what's blocked and what isn't for understandable reasons. And they seem to be operating under the assumption that at some point WhatsApp is going to kind of come to its senses, as we've seen with Facebook blocks before. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of crossed fingers over there right now.
Yeah, you quoted a Telegram as saying, quote, typically after a media backlash, Facebook steps back and blames their intelligent filtering for the problem, unquote. And I've noticed this before. I've tried to troll my my audience on Google Plus and elsewhere for somebody to go and take the time to create a Tumblr or something like that that tracks Facebook apologies. They apologize constantly, and that's essentially their MO. They try stuff that's kind of aggressive, and then when they get called out in a big way, they sort of apologize, back off in a minimal way, and then continue as usual. That's been my experience.
I think the weird thing about this is, often when we see that, you think, okay, well, they were tweaking the algorithm, they're optimizing, and then it had this effect that they didn't realize. But from looking at the code, it seems like someone at WhatsApp just put, if it has the word if Telegram is in the URL, then block the link, right? I mean, and you can see the piece of code. So it's not that this was an unintended consequence. I mean, maybe it was someone lower down and now it's reaching sort of higher up and the bosses are wondering if they really want to do this. But it seems like this is a very intentional move on their part.
Yeah, it certainly does. And of course, if you're going to be sharing this show later on, and please don't mention the Telegram story because it'll get blocked on WhatsApp. It's just an occupational hazard, I guess. Russell Brandom is at theverge.com and on Twitter at Russell Brandom. Russell, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right, take care. Got more news coming right up, but first I want to talk about Gazelle, one of our sponsors today. I've been telling you for a long, long time, long before I was doing ads for Gazelle, that everybody ought to sell their old devices to Gazelle as soon as possible because, of course, phones and tablets lose value over time. And so if you got something lying around, sell it to Gazelle ASAP because you're going to get maximum dollar. But more recently, they've started offering devices for you to buy. And the holidays are coming, and this is a great gift idea for you to do your shopping on Gazelle. Here's the idea. Sometimes we all have relatives that aren't that tech savvy and barely use technology, but you want to give them, you want to share photos or different types of media or content with them, and it's hard to get them to go and figure out Facebook or wherever it is you're sharing these things. Here's a great idea. Go to Gazelle, buy a used iPad. The prices are amazingly good, and then load it full of photos or whatever the content is that you'd like to share with this person and give them the gift of all those photos. I certainly have several people in my life like this. They don't go online. They don't really know how to do it. They're dying to see photos of my kids and our family and our adventures and so on. So you can just load gigabytes of photos and just hand them, and then they can enjoy them. You can even set up the sort of screensaver mode, the slideshow mode, so that they show those photos automatically if, in fact, it's photos that you're sharing. It's a great idea. It's an affordable idea, and it's a reliable idea because, of course, Gazelle puts every single device through a full inspection, and they back it with a 30-day return policy. So that's an idea from me to you for this holiday season. Give the gift of gigabytes of photos or whatever, and you can just do it so affordably with Gazelle. Give new life to used electronics, trade in for cash, or buy certified pre-owned. Visit Gazelle.com today, and we thank Gazelle for their support of Tech News Today. The UK regulatory authority, the Office of Communications, or Ofcom, is warning consumers that Christmas lights can interfere with home Wi-Fi signals. Well, not really. In fact, Ofcom is informing consumers that a wide range of objects in the home can interfere with and slow down Wi-Fi, and that Christmas lights, or fairy lights as they're called in the UK apparently, are just one culprit. But the press is zeroing in on the Christmas lights issue because, well, 'tis the season for holiday clickbait. Ofcom's list of far worse offenders include microwave ovens, I think that's the #1 offender, radiators, refrigerators, and other large metal home appliances, water pipes, cordless, landline phones, other people's Wi-Fi networks, and, of course, other humans. The purpose of Ofcom's announcement is that they're now offering a free iOS and Android app for troubleshooting home Wi-Fi connections. Ian, sure, I think this is an example of a government just trying to make people's lives better by informing them of a basic thing that a lot of geeks know, but the lay public just generally doesn't know, which is that Wi-Fi signals can be easily interfered with. Even if you have a Christmas party, your internet connection at home is probably going to go down and be slower. But anyway,
let me
I think
tell you,
I think it's a
how
good
many
idea.
well, it's crazy how many times I've had to go out to family and friends' houses to fix their Wi-Fi, and it's always been the one of those 6 or 7 things that they bring up, but the problem is that it's really hard to troubleshoot. And so, it comes down to sometimes it's the most minor things, which is why I think it's actually funny that people are so angry at the clickbait. But, I mean, think about the Defense Department when they put out, I think it was the Defense Department or the CDC put out their plans for if there's a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
Like it's a great way to remind people that there's a source of information over here, and maybe you might want to read the rest of it. And I can't blame them for going after that. And at least in the case of Ofcom's example, at least it's something that's real, right? Christmas lights can cause a very little amount of impact on Wi-Fi. There's practically no possibility of a zombie apocalypse. So I'll give them a little bit of pass on this one, I think.
Yeah, and of course, if the zombies get into your house, as they did on spoiler alert, as they did in The Walking Dead recently, that's of course going to affect your Wi-Fi.
Now, if there's zombies that are wrapped in Christmas lights, we're in real trouble.
Yeah,
right?
that would be horrible. The Christmas light, fairy light, zombie apocalypse. It's coming, folks. All right, well, we told you yesterday that hackers broke into a major Chinese toy company called VTech and gained access to the personal information of nearly 5 million parents and about 200,000 kids. Today, Motherboard revealed that the hack also included thousands of photos of both parents and kids, plus chat logs detailing conversations. Those conversations were between parents and their children. The photos were in the database because VTech reportedly encouraged parents and kids to take headshots and use them in their apps. Now, this is a real problem because, you want to protect the safety of your children. And this hack taken in total, and we don't know that this is out in the wild. We do know that one hacker got this stuff, and he is presenting himself as an ethical hacker who is appalled by what was easily hacked or stolen or downloaded from VTech. But essentially, this data taken together enables you to find a child that a predator, find a child, and then identify what that child looks like and what their home address is. I mean, it's a really kind of a potentially bad thing. Parents are not going to be thrilled with this news, but it's yet another example, Ian, of another company that's just horrible with security, lax about security. They don't want to spend the money, they don't want to take the time, and the end result is that their customers are getting screwed.
Yeah, it's really bad, and it's a constant problem that's popping up. There's also the other end of it as well, which is the information we're choosing to put into these companies. Part of it, and I'm not blaming the victim here at all, but part of it I always try to remind people is make sure you know who you're doing business with. Now, VTech is a company that's got a lot of products that are very popular, but there are a lot of people I see who put information on other websites. I remember that there was a Snapchat backup website once that I think it was last year that got hacked, and all of these Snapchats got out in the wild. And it's just making sure that you're being smart just on a very minor basis. And then, of course, it's the companies themselves. They definitely need to be better about this stuff. And it's surprising that in this day and age, 2015, the 21st century, after we've had stuff like Sony happen and we've had all these other, the Office of Personal Management, I mean, just this year, it's been crazy that these companies still aren't doing what they need to do to be secure. And that's a huge problem.
Yeah, and I think as a general rule, even for the most untechnical consumer, the best practice is never give information that you absolutely don't have to give, and be careful about personal data. There are certain companies that are really have their feet held to the fire around security. Companies like Google or Apple or Facebook and so on, and those tend to be a bit more technical than the Sony Pictures Entertainments of the world or the VTechs of the world that aren't really in the business of securing people's information. They are in some other business, and oh, by the way, we also want this data. You want to be very, very stingy in general about personal information, and then if you have to, provide fake information, because you never know when this stuff is going to get out there. And once it's out in the wild, it's out in the wild, and there's no bringing it back. So
when I always tell family and friends that once it leaves your head, you should assume that it's public.
Yeah.
And that's not a popular opinion, but it's something that's been echoed by a lot of Silicon Valley executives. The reality is that that the way that things are and the porous nature of a lot of these services, a lot of this information just doesn't stay public. I can't count, or private rather, I can't count how many times I know friends who have been hacked and have had their information stolen, their identity stolen. I mean, this stuff, no matter what they're trying to do, these people are getting in. And so you have to be careful about it.
And I think, of course, one of the biggest risks is email, because email is pretty easily hackable. But even if it isn't, when you're interacting with other people, your messages, the things that you say, have been put into somebody else's, and you don't know who, somebody else's servers, somebody else's computer, maybe they're downloading or whatever. It's very, very, just be careful online. I think all this will change. You mentioned that if it leaves your head, it's probably vulnerable. I think that's going to change. I think they'll be able to get into your head and get that stuff too. But we're getting there, I guess. Well, we told you in late July that Nokia planned to release a high-end 360-degree virtual immersive video camera called the OZO. The company yesterday announced new details. The OZO camera will ship in the first quarter of next year. It'll cost $60,000. If you have to ask, you can't afford it, probably. Nokia Technologies president Ramzi Haimadis called it the virtual reality equivalent of a Canon 5D camera. Essentially, considering it a prosumer immersive video camera. The OZO has 8 cameras, 8 microphones, weighs 9.3 pounds, has a lithium-ion battery, and is about the size of a cantaloupe. Ian, sure, I want one of these. I don't care what anybody says, I want one.
So it's your holidays, huh?
Yeah, exactly. If there's a rich person out there who wants to buy me a holiday gift and wants to spend $60,000, your prayers are answered. This is what I want.
It's fascinating because obviously there's so much push on virtual reality at this point, right? And there's so much attention on it, and there's so many companies that are building cameras. I mean, I've run across 3 or 4 of them that are literally, that's all they're doing. They're building these cameras. And I was at Oculus Connect, their developer conference back in September, and I saw a bunch of people building these things. And it's really fascinating. I think a lot of people think that if they can get on the ground floor of making the hardware and making the services, they're going to really get somewhere with it. It's going to be really interesting to watch.
I agree with you, and I also think it needs to be pointed out that there's virtual reality and then there's immersive video. And I think the immersive video is going to be faster to get into the hands of consumers. You look at how long it's taken Oculus Rift to get off the ground. I think a big part of that is that the content, it takes forever to build a totally immersive 3D, 360-degree, computer-generated interactive game or something like that. That is a massive. I mean, look at how hard it is to just do a Xbox game or something like that. I mean, now make it 360 degrees and immersive. Whereas video, thanks to products like this, you can just shoot the video, process the video, and boom, you can get that content out there. So I think people are expecting, obviously next year we're going to get lots of goggles, and Oculus Rift is going to launch and all that kind of stuff, and people are going to be expecting virtual stuff, computer generated content. But I think what they're really going to get is a lot of video.
So I'm actually on the opposite end of this. I think that the video games are a lot easier to build, partially because a lot of the way that we design video games already fits into this 360-degree thing. I mean, I swing my joystick and I'm looking in the other direction anyway. Now that joystick is on my head instead, and it's my goggles. Movies, on the other hand, I think are incredibly hard to do. And if you listen to people like Lucasfilm, who was talking actually at that Oculus event back earlier this year, they said that it's incredibly hard because it changes the whole way that we do storytelling, and suddenly allowing people to basically see the world however they want, instead of what a movie screen really is, which is where they control what you see. It's going to be a lot harder to really make a compelling movie. And I know that I've seen a lot of movies that have been done in VR that right now are incredibly hard to really enjoy, because a lot of the information and a lot of the really exciting stuff happens over my shoulder. And I have to twist my body in the right direction to see what's happening. And then I have to twist another way to see what else is happening over on my other side. And it actually doesn't work that well too often. And so it's been very hard for filmmakers to really figure this out. So I'm actually on the other end of this. I think video games are going to have a much easier time building for VR than movie people will.
Well, I think we can both agree that the dumbest use of all of this technology is when the inevitable moment happens, when the first person broadcasts 360-degree immersive video on Twitch of them playing a 360-degree virtual reality game. That's going to be really dumb. It's going to be.
I think that's going to be the end of the universe, right?
Yeah,
360 video of 360 video, that's over.
Exactly. That is our technology for horsemen of the apocalypse. All right, well, something to look forward to anyway. Oh, we got some more news coming right up. But first, I want to talk about Wealthfront, our other sponsor today. Wealthfront, of course, is the greatest way in the world for you to grow your money. How do you grow money? Well, you invest it wisely, for starters. You invest for the long term. You don't take all kinds of short-term risks and that sort of thing. And the other thing that you do if you want to grow your money is you want to hang on to the money you already have. Right? And there's several ways to do that, and Wealthfront helps you do all of them. One of them is to minimize your taxes. Okay, taxes are horrible, and you got to pay them, but you don't have to pay all the taxes you're probably going to pay the way you're going with your money right now. Wealthfront will help you avoid all kinds of taxes. They'll also help you avoid all kinds of fees. A traditional advisor can charge between 1% and 3% of what you got under management, and also you'll be hit with all kinds of hidden fees and, for transactions and various charges. Kind of gotchas. They'll nickel and dime you, and you'll lose money. And that's the whole point of this, is to not lose money, to gain money, to grow your money. With Wealthfront, you pay 0.25% a year. That's 25 basis points, 0 commissions, and there are no hidden fees. That's about $5 a month to invest a $30,000 account, and there are no additional charges for any of Wealthfront's other services. And that's why Wealthfront manages over $2.6 billion in client assets and has grown over 20 times in the past 2 years. This is a hot company because people are really, really enjoying the enormous benefits, the low cost, the reliable service, and the fact that it is such a great way to invest your money for the long term. Visit wealthfront.com/TNT to sign up and get your free personalized investment portfolio. You'll see the customized allocation they recommend for your profile. And just for Twit listeners and viewers, if you sign up to invest, Wealthfront will manage your first $15,000 entirely free of charge for life. Claim your offer today at wealthfront.com/TNT. And we thank Wealthfront for their support of Tech News Today. For compliance purposes, I have to tell you that Wealthfront Inc. is an SEC-registered investment advisor. Brokerage services are offered through Wealthfront Brokerage Corporation, member FINRA, and SIPC. This is not a solicitation to buy or sell securities. Investing in securities involves risks, and there is a possibility of losing money. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Please visit wealthfront.com to read their full disclosure. Well, the news you can lose: the hottest trend in choosing a name for babies is to name children after Instagram filters. Yeah, I'm going to say that again. The hottest trend for choosing a name for babies is to name children after Instagram filters. This is according to babycenter.com. For example, the name Lux for boys, Lux, is up 75% in popularity since last year. Ludwig is up 42%, and Amaro, Reyes, Hudson, and Kelvin are also trending. For the girls, Valencia, Juno, and Willow are suddenly very popular Instagram filter/baby names. People are not naming their kids after the Instagram filters Toaster, Early Bird, or 1977 for some reason. Ian Sure, this is clearly the most important story of the day.
Well, you can now call me Lo-Fi Sure, by the way.
I will
But no, it's definitely, it's funny. You know, that you see this type of stuff happen every once in a while where a real trend in pop culture just catches on so much that people start integrating it throughout their entire lives. And this is definitely one of those things. I mean, Instagram is huge, and there's no debating how many people are using it, and they're using it every day. And so, for people who are looking for baby names and have gotten exasperated for looking at these books and reading websites, they look at their Instagram filter, like, Willow, that works great. So it's really funny, actually. But hey, if it works, it works.
And when they take a picture of the baby, they can use that filter. It's a
Willow
very,
of Willow, exactly.
Well, we got some feedback from a few TNT fans, including email from Clinton Carrison about our VTech hack story yesterday, who said, after watching Monday's episode, I just want to let you know that VTech isn't just a toy company, but also a major manufacturer of baby monitors and cordless phone handsets. They were until recently the manufacturer of all the Telstra-branded phone handsets. Telstra is Australia's largest telco, and that is a great point. They're not just a toy company, as we said. We also got a note on our Google Plus community from Brian Sullivan about Amazon working on an Apple TV app. Brian wrote, personally, I never thought Apple was to blame for the lack of an Amazon app for Apple TV. Apple allows Hulu, Showtime, HBO, Netflix, etc. to have apps in direct competition with iTunes on the Apple TV. I think someone at Amazon finally got wise and realized how many potential paying customers are Apple TV fans. Statistics show for any streaming service that Apple users are more willing to pay. I'm guessing they didn't like the fact that they had to pay 30% to Apple. But it's good to see them back on it, especially for all of the Amazon Prime users. We got one final note on the Tech News Today subreddit on Reddit from Kozar, who said, our coverage of Amazon's new drone, he said, I think it's amazing how each year on Cyber Monday, Amazon gets news outlets to passively promote them, likely for free. Oh, certainly for free. They're not paying anybody. Yeah, they come out with a new drone story. Everybody's covering them. I mean, this whole thing started 2 years ago with a spectacular publicity stunt where Jeff Bezos talked to 60 Minutes.
Cyber Monday.
Exactly. And got everybody thinking about Amazon right before the big day. And, of course, you know, it was total vaporware at the time. I think, Ian Scher, I think you would agree with this, that Amazon is masterful at this kind of publicity stunt, at this kind of publicity.
Well, all of the tech companies are getting this way. They are all getting really good at timing their announcements, making sure that they are doing these at what is the most beneficial to them. And it's happening all over the place. I mean, we used to joke around that the iPhone was announced right in the middle of CES, right? And now you're just seeing this stuff happen all over the place. There's so much timing thought through it. But I mean, take a look at Amazon, right? You had 2 years ago, you had the original Air drone that was announced right on Sunday before Cyber Monday. And then last year, they talked about the Kiva robots, right? And they brought a lot of journalists into their warehouses for the first time and got to watch them see these robots move everything around. And there's obviously there's a trend here that Amazon has realized that if they have a big announcement of new technology, it gets their name in the news enough, and it has to be wacky enough that they're going to get somewhere in the newspaper or on the page, and then they get their name out there right before Cyber Monday. It's genius. I
feel so used. But you know,
should.
It actually, in fact, when they do that kind of stuff, it actually is newsworthy. That's the tragic part. All right. Well, our TNT fan of the day is Edward Sescanetto in Houston, Texas, who posted this amazing picture on Twitter. It shows 6 Eduardos working in his studio while listening to Tech News Today. It's a black and white photo, and yeah, he's all over the place. There's 6 of them. Yeah, there it is. All right. Well, show us how you enjoy TNT. Post your photo or video on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, or Facebook, and use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT so we can find it. Ian Scher, what are you working on these days, and how can people follow you on social media?
Well, I'm working on all sorts of stuff, but primarily I am exhaustively preparing for the Consumer Electronics Show in January. So that is where a lot of my thinking is going. Where you can find me is on Twitter, obviously, at Ian Scher. I'm on Facebook, on LinkedIn, although I'm thinking about changing my name now to Lo-Fi Scher, just to follow the trend. Perfect. But yeah, you can find me pretty much everywhere under the username Ian Scher.
All right, and that's Ian Scher on Twitter. That's Scher with 2 R's at the end. Yes. Ask for it by name. Ian Scher, thank you so much for calling today. I really appreciate it. We'll have you on the show again soon, I hope.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Take care. Bye-bye. You can subscribe to Tech News Today on Stitcher, or you can choose some other way to subscribe at twit.tv/TNT. If you're ever in the greater Petaluma area, come on into the Brick House and watch us as part of our studio audience. We'd love to have you. Just send email to tickets@twit.tv before you come in. You can subscribe to our subreddit at technewstoday.reddit.com, and don't miss our other news show, Tech News Tonight, at 4 p.m. Pacific every single weeknight. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Tech News Today. This show is produced by Jason Cleanthus and edited by Anthony Nielsen. My name is Mike Elgin. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.